Hi everybody, very good afternoon. How are you doing? Welcome to fifth class reading comprehension types of questions. My name is Anupam. Staying in touch, install an Academy app, plus chat, subscribe. There are many offerings, but if you get something over 12 months, more than 12 months, sense there are thousands of courses, so many tests, mock tests, sectional tests, advice, calculation, a lot of things cost very less. If you 4 months cost economical, quality is very. Senator is my code. You use it. All right. So we come to today's topic. So yesterday we spoke about types of reading comprehension. Today we're talking about types of. Again, why talk about types of questions? You can expect to see that we're talking about questions because they give you an awareness, higher vantage point of what is expected. You will be There will be lesser, or there will be fewer surprises for you present in the CAT paper. You are well versed with the kind of questions you can. Also, it will help you in analysis of your preparation. You can analyze your mock tests, your uh, the CAT papers, which CAT test paper writing mock. You can analyze your performance. You can go and you can scrutinize your performance. Get to know that what are those type of, which are those questions, types of questions, where you're going, where you're making. So it will help you to have a very clear picture and also give you certain of action which will result in so ask question, RC options, wrong options, zones. We discuss all these things so that your awareness towards sense of surprise, of confidence and belief on relational skills improve. So let's first discuss direct database. Uh, these basically direct database questions are factual questions. Are based on the facts or information given in a line, couple of lines, or in a line in the passage. And what one has to do, one has to find that line based on the question. That line is to go, then one has to answer the appropriate question of the appropriate option. The key here is twofold. One, that you do not uh, add additional information to the facts given Do not add your perspectives, your knowledge already have or might have to the facts, and you just understand them for what they are. Otherwise, do not apply your own bias towards the and you go and you find the option just closest to the uh, data given in that very. It is sometimes possible that the the answer to a factual question is distributed over many paragraphs or more than one paragraph. In that case, you have to go to each and every paragraph, find the respective line, arrive at a at a uh, arrive at those facts which are correct, facts which are broad lines, form a wholesome fact out of those 4 or 5 facts, then go and read those options, have the option. What will happen is that some options will be exactly opposite or completely contrary to the facts given in the reading comprehension, which you have by the virtue of your reading you have true. Some of them will be half true. Some of the options will contain statements which are not relevant at all. Some of them will be say a word or two will be say word a little sympathy can be more helpful. Rudeness. The wrong option will be very less sympathy or no sympathy. So here also, if you are just matching the words, okay, sympathy is there, rudeness is there, so this option should be correct. But whatever adverbs, okay, uh, whatever adverbs were present there, which were your modifying your word present sympathy, those words have been modified and their effect has been diluted or it has been intensified. This is contrary to the data mentioned. So in this way, they will play around with the question. You have to uh, read it for what it is. There's nothing lot to it. Let's read whatever I've written here. These can be answered by reading the relevant line. That the key is to find the correct line, find the proper line, the answer. One cannot emphasize more on the fact that interpreting a line accurately is very important. Direct is right. Interpreting the line correctly, not adding your own information, facts which so we'll solve all kinds of questions, but just one moment, let me check whether time is. Now comes the second kind and very important, the inference based question. In this kind, let me read whatever I've written and then I'll add additional. In this kind, one has to understand what has been said in between the lines. Deciphering and demystifying the main idea or ideas in a paragraph is the solution. Idea may not be written explicitly, it may not be mentioned explicitly. What I'm trying to say that in an inference based question, the you're required to look for the information which has not been for information which has not been explicitly, but if you read piece or the paragraph properly, you can infer that information accurately. So if a paragraph has 6 or 7 lines and the inference and the inference question has 4 to 5 options, then what happens? You have to make a summary of the passage in your own words. You have to make a note, fine note of the key point of the paragraph. Then once you've understood what is the gist, what is the summary, what is the central idea, what we discussed sessions back, you will be able to answer. So yeah, of course, making a summary is a common solution to a lot of problems. Making a note of the key points, the solution to a lot of problems we face in reading inference based questions. Now what happens that generally you will find that unlike database question, sometimes there is no word matching possible. You cannot match the words because you have to infer. So the questions, the options have been set way wherein you will not get any cue from the passage with respect to the words or the terminology or the jargon used in the passage. In fact, it has been seen that the questions where the terms have been used, the terms are similar to the passage, they sometimes can be very misleading. But it is not always the case. The right option in an inference based question may have a few words which were mentioned in those relevant lines to this particular question. But the idea is to find the option which is closest to the inference you have found to be true. Again, the wrong option will contain contrary to the inference which you have understood. It will be partially correct. It will be irrelevant. All right, or it can be it can be correct, but it will be correct, but it will not completely, it will not fit in because it refers to an inference which you might have you draw or you will draw or you might have already drawn in another part of the paragraph, another part of the passage. In this way, one has to be very cautious. Like the idea may not be written explicitly in the passage. This is one more question which can appear. This is again can be easy, can be difficult depending upon the density of the passage, the options which have been. One's ability to of being an active reader, it all varies, but this can be sort of considered like our factual questions, easy to moderate. They will not be difficult or very, very difficult. Rarely true and false questions difficult. Or what happens is that you read the story, whatever I've written, and then I'll add my point. In this kind of question, one is required to mark the option according to the question that has been mentioned in the or had that has not been mentioned the idea or that is the ideas. So what happens that the question itself will specify whether you're looking for something true with respect to the information given in the or ideas given, or you have to look for the option is false. It may also ask you that tell us find the option which is contrary, exactly opposite to ideas mentioned to the ideas mentioned. Again, this question may involve active reading, grasping of main ideas, just spread across the. It may not involve inference, not involve deep understanding language, all complete understanding, but you will have to at least to verify whether each of these options, which of these options true question, which false and it's a false question. So to know the veracity of each of these, you have to read the option passage properly, and you should have made small notes. Have been guilty of being an active read the piece, can tell that were these points. It is not exactly an inference based question. It is not exactly a factual question, but yeah, a lot of facts will be tested. But then this is can be uh, it can be a mix of both, and it's tricky at times. But if you have done homework, have solved n number of reading comprehension, number of tutorials, made summary, and if you are confident of your skills, so confidence also matters, in when you read a piece and when you sort of get start trembling, okay, this sort of work I have not read, that also matters. So comes when you have read, solved n number of questions. To solve these questions. So again, I must add that the category the nomenclature or the groups or the grouping of the questions which I've done here, that is my understanding of how they can be solved or what is the technique. Books and writers can differ. My ideas and my from the information given in certain books, but the overall idea will match. Also, I don't claim this to be an exhaustive list of all the kind of questions which can come in. So, the questions which mostly appear in CAT. More number of times than other. This is that sort of. Although this is not the last of any more sessions that any added, I'll add to it, but quite black cat. Coming back to it, talk about summary based questions. What happens, like I said, in inference, when we spoke about inference, We said that reading comprehension is a solution to a lot of problems. It's panacea. It's an elixir. Panacea and elixir is what? Panacea and elixir are they are the solution to a lot of problems. It's like they're the holy nectar or the amrit or the holy water which can solve all the problems. No, just to so reading so making a summary can solve a lot of problems. True or false questions. Obviously, it'll help. Therapist question. Need summary. You're actively reading, and the high chance that you have gone across facts which otherwise missed. So these questions. I'll read the piece. These questions revolve around the central primary. Now, some people, some writers may say that tone is an entirely different topic. I agree to them and I disagree to them. I'll first talk about summary. So again, for example, if you did summary of us, if you have understood the ideas, important ideas, paragraphs, then solving central idea question, solving done central idea was yesterday and so sorry we did them day before yesterday and the before it. Yesterday we discussed type of reading. So basically, what happens is that so so again same thing comes up that if you have made somebody had made gist of your of the point, then definitely you'll be able to solve the idea primary and idea. Central idea questions like we have the important the primary idea is mentioned. All the paragraphs have common the primary purpose section. You will have your what is the primary purpose of every graph. Many more classes. Then title is again so title is again a phrase which will be having 3 4 words. So you have to again skim and skip and arrive at the idea which has been number most or the most important idea has been most weightage the paragraph passage that will become the closest to your title. Then comes the tone of a passage. The tone of a passage uh, is nothing but it requires a language analysis from the idioms and phrases, the vocabulary standard. Idioms, phrases, words you their finer subtle and the vocabulary which is uh, to talk about the issues or ideas mentioned in the passage. So, what happens that remember yesterday's last tutorial, last reading spoke about the argumentative type. Sorry, my bad. The slide says types of reading comprehensions. So, what happens? So, if you remember yesterday's class, you can go one if somebody has back and the last tone, the words you like. There was this double quote in former prosecutor. There was a double quote when it the legal expert. There was a word written that there was a word used unidentified legal expert, unidentified, and former police have said that there is evidence. So from the very beginning, that there is a of attempt of protest that the writer asserting her democratic right to criticize and protest on the action. So what happens looking at these finer usage of the vocabulary used, phrases used, where they have been at what comes before them and what comes after them. These sort of does solve the get to the tone of the question. Then, if you haven't made some passage, chances are you might have missed some of them or all of the nuances which were in the in making a summary will help you solve this question. Saying that only summary will help, but as I said in front of you that the tone tone of the passage need to have certain of language and you need to know the little bit of vocabulary also, which we'll discuss then. Sorry, from next day. So every day we'll make sure that if you go to the camp, vocabulary with you, just stick to me. So in this way, vocabulary knowledge is necessary, but for active reading, for understanding what is happening in the entire passage, confident about answer. Next comes for application based one. There will be a situation given. a situation given in which audience, the application, the mistake, apply his or her understanding ideas to pick and choose from the options. So that question, uh, that that apply the which in reading, understanding the ideas, these questions also however, let's go and solve a few. First slide it was. What's the second? Let's go to the comprehension. So I have chosen two reading comprehension from table reputable. Stand outside the purview of types of analyze the following passage and appropriate answers to 20. Ways by which you may get money almost without exception. What is saying that there's a connection between money and how you get it. So the ways by which you get money will definitely they will take you down. The quality of your and the quality of the intent will definitely to have anything which by which you mainly you have into saying that if you have done anything by which you just earn money, then you've not worked at all, or you have been the worst. So you've just earn the money, and probably so there can be a couple of things which can so we can also start expecting something when we read such ideas. Probably the author wants by the work. Probably author wants strive for excellence. Probably the author uh, is unhappy that people only work for not work for not work for love of it, or he or she is just trying to put in front of us the connection between the work and money. These are the possibilities which can happen. So we're just saying before we read, we are just assuming, we are just we don't know the reality. So let's read and let's find out. If the laborer gets is no more than the wager pays, cheated. If can you see that if the wager, if daily wager, if a laborer working class, they really sweat in construction worker, roads, and these workforce, they if he or she doesn't get any more than the wages, there is no future or there is other achievement apart from the wages which the employee gives. Which the person cheats himself. If you would get money as a writer, or you must be popular, you would get money as popular, which is to go down perpendicular. Next comes those services which community will most readily pay for. It is most disagreeable to. You are paid for being something less than. It does not commonly reward a genius any more wise. Even the poet laureate would rather not have to celebrate the accidents of. He must be bribed with a pipe of wine. Perhaps another poet is called away from his to gaze at very pipe. The aim of the laborer should be not to get his living, to get a good job, sorry, but to perform well a certain work. Even in a pecuniary sense, it would be economy for a town to pay its laborers so well that they would not feel that they were working for low end as for livelihood made scientific or even more. Do not hire a man who does your work for money, but him who does it for. So the entire gist of this piece is there in the last line, that a person should not work only for money, but he should also do it uh, for the love of it. So this is what the entire gist of this particular paragraph is. Let's come to the next paragraph. The community has no bribe that will tempt a wise man. You may raise enough money to tunnel a mountain, cannot raise enough to hire a man who is minding his own business. An efficient, valuable man does what he can whether the community pays for it or not. The inefficient offer their inefficiency to the highest bidder and are forever expecting to put into office. One would suppose that they were really God gave the righteous man certificate and entitling him to food and raiment. But the unrighteous man found a facsimile of the same in God's copy and appropriated it, obtained food and it is one of the most extensive systems of counting that the world has seen. I did not know mankind was suffering for want of it. No, very made malleable, malleable. Grain of gold will build a great surface, but not so much. Uh, what is how can we sort of sum, summarize the entire this first paragraph that he's saying that the author is want to say that a wise man cannot be bribed and the righteous person the person who has done good work that person uh, will definitely get whatever he or she needs to take care of. Also, the author has mentioned here that that wit, human intelligence, presence of mind, in the human intellect is of a greater quality. Gold. So, if a person has wisdom, that will be of greater value. All right, let's try and solve the questions. Let's try and also identify which type of question they moment. So it says, question number 20 says, which of the following would the author disagree most with? Which of the following the author disagree most? And they have given an option A, B, C, D. The option setting up a factory in a rural area, advertising for a toothpaste, studying in a business school, betting in a casino, working for an in. So, which of the following so again which what sort of a question this is an application based question. Remember, in this question one has to apply one's understanding of the author. So also remember we spoke but I you will be given a situation which is outside the scope at times outside the certain information will be asked which you cannot confirm from the exact data given a passage. You will have to have an understanding of what the author say, what just of what he's trying to say. Then you have to. So, would author disagree to setting up a factory in a rural area? Respect to or advertising for a toothpaste that you mentioned, the author has just said that a person should earn money working hard, person should enjoy, person should do the work for the love of it. The human intellect is more precious than gold. The author has said that yeah, a person should work for the love of it. One has just merely earned the money. The one has been truly idle or gets no more than wages. Which, if you would get money as a writer, you must which is per pen, which means that you are not working with a certain amount of passion or a certain amount of love for your work. You are, and if you're not putting the required effort, if you just person not intellect are somewhere between self. Here it says that again, next option comes studying in a business school. No, studying in a business school is not, because a person may have a passion. He working for an investment bank. A person might like working passion, but D, if you read betting in a casino, betting in a casino is not an righteous task. It doesn't involve intellect. It doesn't involve very high sense of very righteous of intellect. Also, you are not working hard enough. You're just merely making money. You can also lose a lot of money. You can go further down the the peril, the perils of bankrupt. So D sort of is something which the most disagree. So by reading the entire passage, by understanding the finer points mentioned in each and every paragraph, we have come to an understanding that deep betting in a casino is something which is good. Come to 21st question. Which of the following would be a good title for the above? Uh, A, money and work. Money and work can be a good option because the first paragraph, in second paragraph, third paragraph, money has been mentioned. First paragraph, sorry, in both first and second paragraph, there is no third paragraph. In between, which says that the first line itself starts with money. Second line also talks about money. Third line also talks about money. Then again, you speak about money. Then he talks about bribery. Then he talks about must be paid well, so well that they feel that it is good. It also says that do not hire a love. It also says that the, the community that the next paragraph it says that we drive a person who is also says in the next line that a valuable man and whether the for it. Second line of the second paragraph it also says you may raise enough money to tunnel a mountain, but so then he also mentioned what has provided for a person righteous doesn't deserve. It's form of counterfeiting of talks about gold. So yes, it is about money and work. Or God rush has not been mentioned. Work is worship. This idea has not been mentioned. What they've mentioned that one must work only if one has love for what, and a lot is has been hard enough. Intellectual and more. He so work is worship sort of. Okay? Search of God, no, they're not told this. Again, we see that why it just so title came in what sort of summary based question. Why? Because since we made a summary, we tried to summarize each and every paragraph. We were not sure. We were having a doubt in at least between, but we still had some cues because we had actively read passage so properly that we could confidently arrive at a conclusion that he is talking about money work here and he's not talking about work and worship. Here and there he has mentioned God, that God has provided to take care of self. So for man, I mean both, but there is no reference to that work is worship and the work as a worshipping of just angle worship work being done as a tribute to God. This sort of however the notion that this what he or she is doing right value of intellect motive. But nowhere work is worship can be did here good type. So it might work sort of capture. One more thing that remember I discussed that a title will cannot have entire line of to describe the title. Uh, the title will have two, three, four, five words as it will just capture the most important theme or the most important idea or ideas. the most succinct and shortest one. Wait a second. The passage went on. We are provincial. They're saying that went on to say. It's extra. So it's an addition. Whatever has been. It should be considered that it came right after the last words, which are a grain of gold, still a great success, but not enough. Author of the passage went on to say, we are provincial because we do not find at home our standard. So, provincial mean that we are being we are narrow here, but broad enough. Although I know the meaning, but I'm still sort of assuming and guessing with you so that I sort of get your wavelength. I know, don't worry about it. So it says that we are provincial because we do not find our standards, because we do not worship the truth but the reflection of truth. We are wrapped, narrowed, because we are warped, sorry, man, warped and narrowed by an exclusive devotion to trade and commerce, manufacturers and agriculture and like, which are but means and so what he's saying that can sort of relate to it. We do not worship the truth but the reflection of, and if you set a parallel to it in the last line, means that we are not working for the end, which is the truth, but we are working for the reflection of truth, which is sort of parallel to all these activities like trade and commerce and manufacturing and culture and its ilk. This is the, so we can understand that there is this uh, urge for a higher purpose. What will these all these activities lead to? What is the ultimate purpose? And it says that, and there is one more parallel which has been drawn at the very beginning. Now we understand we are provincial but we do not find us standards our home, because we are provincial because we are narrow. We are narrow and we are shallow in our approach. We do not seek the ultimate goal, but we try and seek the goals which are narrow or which are very parochial in nature, just trade commerce, manufacturing and agriculture. Now we'll get into the question. So now we sort of got the hint what is happening here. Now we can solve the question. Which of the following, as per the author, would have been the end? Last words in. Again, this is a question in which you have to uh, infer also. You have to understand something which has been written explicitly, and at the same time you have to apply whatever that information, find the right option. So let's try and solve this question. The following as per the would have been a economic growth of the source. Already said that these activities are just a reflection of truth. They are not the truth, and they are not. We follow them. We are narrow and we are wrapped. We are sort of parochial. We are very narrow and shallow. You're not looking at the higher purpose. Then comes realization of self. Yes, this is sort of will help us. The ultimate truth will be properly the ultimate goal, the ultimate end will be to realize oneself, because he has already mentioned earlier passage that righteous have provided for the righteous person, right person, dived into intellect and wit is more important than gold, for the love of the work, not just working, is shooting oneself. So the theme which we are seeing, and again here it is said that we are, if we only follow trade, commerce, manufacturing and agriculture, we are being very narrow, we are being very shallow, we are being parochial, we are not being enough purpose in the end. So the higher purpose, so this entire tone is towards the uh, realization of self. It is towards a higher goal, not just a materialistic goal. It is towards an a spiritual goal which a person must pursue. It is rising a little above our needs. Okay? So here it says that, so be realization of life of self is important. Happy family life. So happy family life is never been mentioned nowhere with respect. And again, happy family life will be again a very narrow and very very limited in a tone of the past. And person has of asked a person to pursue path is not very materialistic. Be strong and powerful nation. Strong and powerful nation means something development, distribution of wealth. In it is not with respect to equality. This sort of notion. So we can safely assume just by reading A, C, D, and E that they are incorrect. Just by reading them, we get to know that they are not relevant. And then we can mark B because that is a. On the other hand, also have proved by reading, by going through the entire passage once again, uh, using our ability to comprehend the RC properly, that let us try and solve this question. Also help. Analyze the following passage, provide appropriate answer to 25. I heartily accept the motion. Government is best, which I should like to see it acted up to more rapidly. The government is best, which governs the lead. I should like to see it up to more rapidly and systematically carried out. It finally amounts to this, which I also believe that government is best which governs not. So the author says that he accepts the motto government. So the least governance, government which controls least is the best government. But the author goes on to say that he also believes that to the extent he believes in this motto to the extent so much in favor of this idea that even if it goes to the government is the best, which is not at all, also happy with that. He would like it to. And when men are prepared for it, that will be the kind of government which what they say that when civilization reaches to a point, don't need any then the government is at best put an best put best but an expedient. But most governments are usually all governments are sometimes inexperienced. The objectives which we have been which brought army, there are many and weighty, deserve to also at last be brought against standing army, standing governments. And there are a lot of objections and and whatever objections will have those objections are very correct. It deserve to prevail. Must take similar arguments are logic of a standing government. Now these are the views of the author here. Right? Standing army, regular army is right, and a lot of ideas, objections behind it, and similar ideas uh, also support there must not be. Standing army is only an arm of the standing army. Government itself, which is only the mode which is chosen to do their will, is equally to be abused, perverted, before the people can see that that the government itself only so that whatever applies to army applies to government also, because army is only an arm of a government, and it is something by which people have chosen to execute their will, and that government can be is liable to be abused and perverted. So the powers of the government, they can be misused much before people can utilize the government for their own benefit. After all, the practical reason why when the power is once in hands, a majority are permitted for a long period continue, not because they are most likely to, not because this seems because the strongest. Read it once more for you. After all, the practical why when power is once in the hands of majority permitted for a long time, not because they are most likely to be in right, but because this seems fairest to the not because it seems not because it seems fairest to the because they're physically Sorry, my bad. I'll see whether it's kind of all right. I keep checking it because this. Sorry, this all come. So yeah, what they're saying that once the power is in the hands of people, it ultimately slips the power of the majority in rule. He uh, becomes the majority rule government, not because they are correct, their approach towards best, but because and also not because the majority want it to be that way, but because uh, they are physically the strongest. But a government, so we read next, a government in which majority rules in all cases not be based on justice, even as far as man and that even if uh, that but a government in which majority rules are based on justice, even as far as men understand it. Uh, what is happening here is basically um, you know what we're saying is that if people, even if people understand what justice is, and people understand that majority is not being correct, majority is not going to get justice, what justice is, still the government which the majority rules, or majority of that government, can there not be a government in which the majorities do not virtually decide right or wrong, but consciousness is saying that should not possible have government is the majority does not does not decide right or wrong, but the conscience does. People of this country, the moral uprightness, the or the pure call of the soul, that decides what is wrong, right. The, the opinion of the authority does not, in which authorities decide only those questions to which rule of expediency is. Must the citizen ever for a moment, when the last degree time has gone to the age of, which is that must the government ever in a moment or in the last degree in saying that must the government ever in a moment legislate. So saying that is it necessary that just for a fraction of time, just or in a very in a very minute way, uh, subvert or control or choose to ignore voice of his conscience and sort of agree to the voice of the elected representative or the author is saying that uh, is it correct for a citizen even partially or even for a fraction of moment provide the ultimate goal of his soul of what is correct or what is wrong to a party of government or to an elected representative? That's the question. What he's trying to say in these couple of lines was that let's try and sum from the starting because it's very complex, it's very dense. Every line has another meaning. From the very beginning, it says that the majority rule that that majority rule will definitely come in to picture when the when power is will and the majority will not be the government which is based on the voice of the majority will not be doing justice, and best government is done sides based on the citizen should never resign, should never give up, relinquish their ability to right from wrong for a moment to a small degree, at least. Why has every man a conscience then? You're saying if you give your conscience and a soul to a legislator, do you have a conscience at all? Then comes, I think that we should be men first and subjects afterwards. It is not desirable to cultivate a respect for the law, or so much as for the right. The only obligation which I have a right to assume is to do at any time what I think is truly enough said that that a corporation has no conscience. A corporation of conscientious of conscientious men who have conscience is a corporation with a conscience. Law never made men with guilt more just, and by means of their respect for well disposed are really in the age. So what is saying that it is not desirable to cultivate is it it is not desirable to cultivate a respect for law so much as for the right. So this says that it is very important to uh, develop a respect for not the law of the land but for what is correct, because sometimes the law of the land will restrict you in certain ways from doing what is right. So probably give an example that you might have to cross, might uh, have to break a red light traffic signal to save someone's life. You know, in case you are carrying a person who is injured, carrying a person who is about to die for accident victim, carrying out to uh, so at that time and you are traveling with them car or in a vehicle and following the traffic rule to the extent that it doesn't, and breaking the rules to the extent that it doesn't harm others, uh, just to save the life of a person. Just to give an example to you, that is correct, or say or following the rules is. So sometimes we have to have respect for, we have to a sense of right than the respect of the law. Next comes the obligation which I have, which I have a right to assume any time. What I think is only obligation which this author wants, what audience would that whatever is right, the one must do that. It is truly enough said that a corporation has no conscience, but a corporation, but a corporation of conscientious men conscientious men who have conscience. That is a corporation with conscience. Law never made men bit more just. So we say that law doesn't make people just, and by means of the respect for it, even the well-disposed are people who have knowledge of law, have they are not true. Um, so let's try and solve this question. According to the author of the paragraph, army is required, fallible, must, necessary, even not required. So yeah, of course it's not required. It is in the starting of the paragraph. 23 is what kind of a question? It is a database question. Remember, we said that it will apply, you have to find the right line. The line comes here. The bottom 1, 4, 5. Fifth but last line, or from the top, 1 line from top, fifth line from the bottom of the first paragraph of this RC. We find that objection which have been brought against army and any and weighty and the bail also at least brought against the standing. The army must go, but also the government. So, according to the author, the army is in general. When should the government of majority be good for my? So remember, we had here again. It's more of a line, more of a database question, I must say. See, there in the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7th line here, 6th line itself, the second paragraph. Can there not be a government in which majority not virtue but conscience? So it's given here. You know. Then we have here. We can also take a cue from last, fourth last is truly enough said that a corporation has no conscience. Corporation of conscientious men, the, the corporation with a law never made a man, law never made people just. Of it, the well disposed make us daily. The conscience, generally, when the government should majority be for is by law or by. We can also read other options and see what sort of options is fair. is right, uh, which abides the law. So law, we have already seen that, and a passion for following a law does not always make you, it does not make you a more just person. Such a government cannot exist. Uh, Fair and right, they are again very narrow, and they're again very subjective term. Uh, Also, the nuances have to be understood. Uh, when you see that there is actual usage of a particular terminology, then it is better to choose that, since conscience was mentioned with government and on this attitude having more than once in the last paragraph, company or a of was emphasized. It means and see from a perspective, conscious is a better word to describe person's intent than being fair and right. It is a better terminology because you uh, one listens to the call of the soul. One doesn't lie. One instead of one there is very high chance that will be just. He makes right. Further down, it is the following statement would the author agree the most with? The following statements would the author agree the men are bigger than government. This has not been said. What they have said that in a long term, when people will become capable of, then they will be government will else they'll not need size their voting rights, form a group, then follow whatever they want. Uh, so this way it should happen. But when a bigger than government, this has not been said. What has been also been said that, but also another thing which might doubt you when it was mentioned here, the second paragraph, that should a person resign, must a citizen in this line, must a citizen ever for a moment or in his degree is going to legislate. Then said, why has every man a conscience then? So this is a very philosophical. Though it's correct, the philosophy and ideals come desire of a man, correct? But so here it's properly written. Which line it is? It's in the very center. It is 1, 2, 3, 8 line from 8 or 9th line from bottom of the paragraph, and 8th line. So I'm talking from the typing, how they've been typed, the typeset standpoint, the 8th one. I'm not saying from the full stop standpoint. 8th line. And we have seen that. So here again, it says that a citizen must not resign the conscience to a legislator. So, but he or she is not here. The author is not saying that men are bigger than the government. Yes, he or she is saying that one should have their conscience, and only, and why he says so? He says so that if people have their conscience intact, once they become part of the government or once they're elected, or they will have conscience, and if people have conscience, they will elect the right people, right? So it is a collective consciousness, as we say in our democracy, that it is the collective consciousness of a society which results in the injustice, results in proper justice. But men are bigger than government. This has not been said. So till now we were arguing why A is incorrect. Let's go and see if there are other better options. So to find something which author agrees to with completely. Then comes option number B. Business houses are best for growth of society. This has not been said. What he said was that a corporation of conscientious men is a corporation. So here necessarily doesn't mean that business houses. It means other collection of people, or it means government, and it doesn't mean only business. Nowhere it has been said that business houses are best for the group of society. They have said that collective consciousness, the society to understand what is right and wrong, that is the governments and armies are not required. Yes, this has been specially mentioned. We read it in the first question itself. We went there and we discussed that. Coming from here, objections, fifth line, but the last fifth line, objection which have been brought against me, and many and weighty and deserve to prevail, also at least be brought against a standing government. Only an arm of the standing government. He said. So in unwell, so he says the governments and arms are fight from the passage. He says concepts of nation is written. Of nation not say they are not correct. Conscious people should become conscious. They should follow the voice of the conscience. This is democracy is best for certain. But it has questioned to a certain extent democracy. The majority but rather the majority should also be conscious. Best for citizens as so this so again 24 questions. 24th question will again be a database question, because if you can find the right line, you can answer. So the following should the author agree most with. uh, this is again a database. This particular passage we got more of this paragraph we got more of application. So, I title question also. So this is not the end. We will be discussing all the concepts from all the angles, all sorts of problems from all, working very seriously to provide good coming week, amazing surprises and of new things are going to come. I want to tell to you about them right now, but you go away, go away. That see you. I think the next video live video. Wednesday? No, it will be on Wednesday. Also thinking of starting a new section at 9. Will be in for so on it. So today's session was a little smaller than others. It was probably because we are covering the content faster because we have become more comfortable with without seeing each other, the emotions and thoughts. That's a good. So I agree that more content and do that, and good content, not more content, but good content, whenever possible. There are means before the actual cat. So the last that Unacademy subscription, guys. This is the key. Unacademy subscription will be a very intelligent to career as far as cat concerned. Get so many classes, many variety of faculty. Yes, these solutions, cat, and after you clear right cat for your interview phase, live classes, you interact with the educator, live boards and boards, test series and analysis. Out. Read my, you can use my code Saxena 10 and you get really economical and intelligent choice. Very much.